Namaskar. My name is Kiran Gera. It's been wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to, I think one of the most exhilarating stories that I've heard is Madhvi's, which the lady who just preceded me, I think it was very inspiring for me. My story is very convoluted, and I think I've been unstereotyped at almost every stage of my life. I can talk about the corporate and the work experience and some personal experiences, just so that you know that in life, a lot of googlies get thrown at you, and you need to learn to deal with them. I don't know whether I should take credit for deliberately taking some decisions, or do those decisions just come to you because you are a certain kind of person. It's in your DNA. You're made that way. So the first, the first instance where I realized that I was not doing the typical thing was, I was a postgraduate student in a hostel in Delhi University. I got a call from a cousin who said my father was not well and I had to come home. And I just told him, okay, which room, in the military hospital, in which room is my father admitted? And he said, oh, no, he's home. And I said, okay. I put the phone down, and I knew my father had died. And he died of a first fatal heart attack. And I just put the phone down, and there, my father was in the army. I was not working. My mother was not working. I had a younger brother who had just joined NDA. So like this was the carpet getting pulled under your feet completely. There were no resources as such. So I'm sitting in the bus and I'm traveling towards my home, and I'm thinking, not crying. I'm not thinking, oh, my whole world has come to an end, what will happen, blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking, dad's died. Who's going to look after mom? Will she be able to hold herself? Should I call my brother for the funeral or not? Because, if he misses NDA and he's not studying, will he, lose that career path? How many days holiday can I get from work? What about all the, things that I need to look at? Where there was a property, my father was building a house. It was at plinth level. Who is going to build it? And those were the thoughts that were coming. And today when I look at myself and say, you're a weird girl, I mean, you're a weird kid, this is what you were thinking. But I was thinking like that, and I want to tell you that I completed that house. I was 21 years old, and I built a house in Delhi, which is very difficult. It's more difficult than building it in Bombay at that time, dealing with all contractors and everything. Because when a lot of relatives said, sell it, I said no, because we'll never be able to buy that kind of an asset again in our life. And I built it. And I think that was Unstereotype to begin with. It carried on later when you're meandering through life. Sometimes you're not always carrying that flag and saying, I'm going to be different, or I'm going to do what I want to do. Sometimes you do have to make compromises. I did fall in love with a man, and when I was marrying him, he said, listen, you are doing a PhD, you are from Delhi School of Economics, I have my career. So he said, listen, I love you, but I don't want a situation in which I come home and you come tired and full of all angst and pressures of your work, and I come from my work. So I want to tell you, we'll both work, but when it comes to a choice and a priority, then it'll be, so he was being stereotypical, but honest, so let's give him some credit. Then he said, my work will take priority. Now he said, you think about it, because that's the way I want it to be. If you don't agree, it's your call. I thought he was honest, and I said, okay, and I did do something different. I said, all right, your work takes priority. But later, it was really funny that the same man gave me the opportunity, and didn't give me the opportunity, gave me the support to do one of the most interesting things that I've ever done in my life. Because in 1985, I decided, this is a slightly interesting insight. In 1983, I was pregnant with twins. There was nothing to do. Doordarshan at that time had one channel which had Chitrahar once a week and one black and white film. And you know what DD even today is like. There's nothing to do. How many books can you read? And I was confined to home because I couldn't see my toes. You know, I was a big fat lady. So somewhere I read that in South Bombay, Ronnie Screwwala was setting up a cable TV system. So I told my husband, I said, I wish that we were living in South Bombay. We were living in Ville Parle. He said, why? So I said, because I would be able to watch cable TV. I think he had a bad day at work, and he said, really? So if you want to watch cable TV, why don't you set up a system of your own? And I said, okay, buddy, and I did. That's So that story is very interesting because please remember my background. My father was in the army. I was from Delhi School of Economics. So no electronic engineering degree, no experience in business. My husband was not a businessman. So there was no background at all. There was no reason to have that proclivity and not much understanding either, because as you can see from what is happening in the in economy today, economists don't know that much about business as they'd like you to believe that they do. Yeah. So I wanted money. We didn't have that kind of money. I went from bank to bank trying to get a loan, but nobody would give me a loan because there were no precedents. केबल टीवी तो था ही नहीं, तो क्या कर रहे हो, कौन सा बिजनेस है, ना उसको जज कर सकते थे, ना उसके बारे में जानते थे, फ़ायदा क्या हुआ, नहीं, सब रिजेक्ट हो गए. Finally, I got an opportunity to present to State Bank of India, and in that, they said, oh, we can give you a loan from the women thing. And here I want to tell you what a stereotype attitude the bank had at that time. 50,000 rupees was the maximum I could have got from that bank. 50,000 रुपए में कौन सा business set होता है? पापड़ बनाने की दुकान भी नहीं चलती. So I decided, okay, no, this is not going to work. I went up to the MD. He said, okay, you are doing something different. Let's take it a shot. And they gave me under a segment called innovative banking. Needless to say, in 1986, Ronnie Screwwala set up a system in South Bombay, and I set up a system in North Bombay. And I want to tell you some statistics. So I'm talking about zero D2H, zero, cable TV, not DTH, that is very new. Zero cable TV viewers and subscribers at that time. You know how many cable satellite set-top box subscribers are there in our country today? By the way, today India is the largest number of subscribers and viewers in the world. Of course, because of our population. Can you take a guess how many we have today? 5.5 crores only. But 5.5 crores, we are the largest viewership in the world. That time it was zero. So from 86 to 96 to 100, about 24 years, see how it has grown and what a huge potential that business had at that time. Now, where did I get off this bandwagon? What did I do? How could I increase my business? What happened was that ultimately, when this business was totally in the hands of lumpens, there were no large-scale corporates working over there. The large-scale corporates only came in 2003, when Dish TV came on. So at that time, there was no one, but छोटे-मोटे cable TV operators होते थे. ज़्यादातर पढ़े लिखे भी नहीं थे, अनपढ़ से थे. I was the only woman amongst them, and I would climb on to do my grid checking and signal checking and with dB meters and so on and so forth. I would go to, there is a red light area in Bombay. I think it's called Lamington Road, right? Anyway, there is Lamington Road, which has all the electronic shops, and then there is the red light area next to it. And I would go there because I needed my equipment. I had to go. Every step, one had to deal with the fact that you were a woman in not a very comfortable work situation. But somewhere, if you conducted yourself and you learned and you knew, there was respect. I got better at my work, and I got, when the business started booming, ultimately, American companies came in, and I got assignments with them. But I know, today also I remember the time when I walked in and I was wearing a salwar kameez because I said, मैं हिंदुस्तानी हूँ तो मैं तो अपने कपड़े पहन के जाऊँगी. It's all about, you know, what I can put on the table and not how I look. It's not about perception management. And they were stunned that there was this woman walking in who was purportedly one of the stars of, or had the maximum knowledge about the Indian environment for cable television equipment. And I must tell you that I had a good meeting and I got that assignment with one of the largest cable TV manufacturing companies in the world called Texas Instruments. But ultimately, I had to give up. And I don't know how that, I mean, I'll tell you how that happened. What happened was that the corporates started, they were not there, the corporates were not there. The goons started, the mafia started coming into this business. You can imagine how much money you can generate on a monthly basis because people are paying their subscriptions in cash. They can pay in check or cash. I mean, it was a huge bonanza that anybody who was running a big cable television system could get. So the goons started coming in, and then, you know, you can't deal with that because at the end of the day, it was not possible for me. I felt out of place. I didn't know how to deal with them. They would threaten. I mean, it was not my world. I could cope to the extent that I could, and I left it. I said, okay, and I sold off my business. But I want to tell you that the journey has taken me further and further away. From that start, inspired me and made me someone who then went on to join FICCI, went on to become the national president. I opened chapters in Delhi, in Mumbai, as well as in Northeast. I then joined SARC. Today I am representing India in SARC, Women Entrepreneurs Council. So the journey has been unstereotyped from the word go, and everywhere there's a learning. But I lost my husband when I was young, and I also, unfortunately, and I realized then that how important it was not to be stereotyped. I knew that if I was a woman who was going to cry and be helpless and not have my own money and my own dignity, I would be thrown under a road roller. And that is why I have a special proclivity for generation of income for women who just do not have the opportunities. I've worked in Flow and in SARC on those women. For example, I'll tell you a story about a roti bank that we started. Not a roti bank, it was called Ghar Ki Roti, a program called Ghar Ki Roti, where women who they knew how to make rotis, they couldn't come out of the house. They didn't have education to take up an alternate job, but they could make the rotis. So we tied up with the Municipal Corporation of Bombay. We gave them space. They were coming in batches making rotis. We were selling those rotis. The rotis started going to canteens. They started going to hospitals. And it was an opportunity where they knew what they had to do, what they could do, and they made an income out of it. That is one of the projects that was one of my favorite projects. Another project that I worked on was domestic entrepreneurship. घर बैठे लोगों को, उन औरतों को जिनके पास पैसे नहीं हैं, जो या अपने बेटे के सामने हाथ फैलाती हैं या अपने हस्बैंड के सामने हाथ फैलाती हैं, उनको पैसे कैसे मिल सकते हैं, वो कैसे कमा सकती हैं. Because the truth is that we can say what we want, as the lady from Avatar, sorry, you said, it's all about environment. We live in an environment. You can't always go, like Don Quixote कि मैं windmills के साथ झगड़े करूँगा. वो हो नहीं सकता. You have to be aware, you have to be prepared, and you have to see what is the best that you can do in the environment without destroying yourself. It's very important. Then you can take one step at a time. So, I mean, my story has just been that I didn't want, I knew what it was like to be a woman who did not have a man on her head. I knew how important it was for me to have respect, to conduct myself in a particular way, and to be able to empower other women, and to be able to have financial self-sufficiency. At the end of the day, what really, really counts is, even in the corporate world, when we are talking about women who are vulnerable at a job, they are not asking for trouble at all. They don't know what to do. You can imagine कि घर का आधा खर्चा आप चलाते हैं, आपके बच्चों की फीस जाती है. Now this man is hassling you. You may not even complain, you don't know. It's a very, very difficult Hobson's choice for a woman to be in a work situation where the Vishakha guidelines are working, this is happening, everything is happening, but she can't talk. वो नौकरी जाती रहेगी उसकी. I mean, I really feel very strongly about the helplessness of a woman whom we may, put down as a stereotype. She's not a stereotype that way, but she doesn't have an option but to be stereotyped. Please make that distinction very clearly. It's very important to know that there are many women who have, some have choices, some don't have choices. It's very important to know that. In SARC, I'm trying to work with, well, we are 8 countries. I'm now trying to work with 3 countries have been lopped off. Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan are not easy to work with them now these days. But we are doing things and projects where the similar thing of women who are not like you, but who are coming from a weaker segment can get support in changing their lives. And I'm happy to tell you that I'm playing a role to some extent in that. I want to end this story by a small thing that Dr. Mohammed Yunus narrated. I was at that conference. And Mohammed Yunus ने ग्रामीण बैंक शुरू किया था बांग्लादेश में, छोटे छोटे पैसे देते थे, small microcredit. He was the father of microcredit. He said, मैं एक दिन कहीं गाड़ी में बैठा हुआ था in Dhaka, and one old woman came. She was a beggar, and she told him, she was begging for money. So he said, why do you beg for money? आप कुछ काम करिए. Why don't you work? Why don't you earn a living? So she told him, are you mad? I'm like 60 years old. I'm uneducated. I'm starving. I'm on the road. और आप मुझसे कह रहे हो कि मैं business करूं? What are you talking about? So he said, okay, I will give you some money and a business idea. So he gave him, he gave her 50 takas or 100 takas. He said, take eggs, boil them, and salt them and pepper them and put them outside, sit outside a factory. She did that, and he said, I met her after many years, 3-4 years, and she had become a big businesswoman. She started, it was so successful. Choti si baat thi. She became successful, her family members joined her, and this is a happy story that I'm ending this note on. So everything is possible. Believe in yourself and see what you can do, and do the best that you can. You can be a unstereotype if you want to be. Thank you.